We often see players working on their serve technique and actually having an effective serve, but they still lose their service games. Now we're going to discuss 3 important tips to help you win more service games and then therefore more likely to win the match. Before we look at the 3 things to do within your service game, one thing to note is that so many players, they break their opponent's serve, so they win that game, and then it comes to their own serve, and there's almost like a relaxation or a comfort from having just broken your opponent's that you immediately lose your own service game. So the first thing is start positively, but almost wipe the slate clean where you finished that previous game and now you're going to focus 100% on this game that is in front of you. Tip number 1 within the game is hit a high percentage of first serves. Now, I can already hear many of you are saying, well, it doesn't matter at a high level, you just get the serve in, but it's not the same. The mentality of the returner is very different on a second serve than a first serve. And if you get your first serve in, even if it's not as good as your second serve, I guarantee it will be more effective because the returner has a first serve return mentality where they're thinking, I'm just going to get this back in. Whereas when it's a second serve, the returner starts thinking, right, I'm going to lob or I'm going to hit to the feet or I'm going to be more effective with their shot. So tip number 1, high first serve percentage in your game. Tip number 2 is have a simple game plan for the first 2 shots. So obviously for the serve, where you're going to aim and what you're going to hit, and then importantly the second shot. So you're going to come in and then you're going to hit your volley to a certain location. So for example, we're always saying to our players, serve to the glass, first volley middle, and just having that simple game plan makes it more consistent. It also avoids that whole thing of you're thinking of 25 different shots that you could hit on that next ball, and it really helps if you and your partner are aligned on this. Tip number 3, and this is a bit of a tip for your partner as opposed to you, is that when you serve, it's really important that your partner is ready. And quite often you see players like Chingotto is a good example. He'll watch Ali Galan serve and then he'll come in and then he'll be like this. And it's really important that the server's partner is alert and expecting the ball to come to them. Now, it won't always go to them, but it's important that you're expecting it because you're going to be in this position. Whereas if you start the rally as a spectator and your racket's down and you're just watching, you're going to be so slow to react and therefore can't be effective. So tip number 3 is server's partner as alert as the server when you get into the points. The bonus tip or final tip for you when it comes to your service game is remember, the game is never over until you've lost or won that last point. So often players go 40-15 down on their serve and they just push the ball in and it's almost like they've given up on the game. But one of the best things about paddle is that it's so easy to change the momentum. With 1 or 2 good points, you can put your opponent under pressure and suddenly you're back in it. So even though this applies for servers and returners, when you're serving, you are in control of the speed. You decide when you start that point, and so make sure you are always starting that on a positive and never giving up in your own games. If you are wanting to improve your serve technique or your return technique, that's exactly what we have on our platform. Link up here, thepadelschool.com, and you can go in there. We've got tutorials, courses, roadmaps that can help you improve whichever level you are. And then down here, we're going to have our tips for the pro player serve.